Hello and welcome to the Text for Bernie training video. We're really excited to have you join us on the texting team and to become part of the largest distributed organizing program in the history of US politics. This work plays a critical role in our campaign strategy to win the nomination and defeat Trump by engaging millions of Bernie supporters to attend campaign events, to volunteer, and to make small dollar donations. It also acts as a key vehicle through which we can contact voters about our grassroots campaign to transform America. This training video will go over everything you need to get started texting for Bernie. Let's jump in. This video will be broken into 4 different parts: how to text with Spoke, our online texting tool, our texting team norms, our Slack norms, and what it looks like to get started texting with us. So first, we're going to cover how to use our texting tool, Spoke. To get into Spoke, you need to go through Slack. If you haven't already watched the Slack Quick Start video on the Bernie Text Team Hub, we recommend you pause and do that before watching this training video. You should be able to just pause and scroll up the page. Once you've watched the Slack video and this training video, then pass the quiz, you'll be invited to join the new Texters Slack channel. Once in the channel, you'll need to hover your cursor over the channel header and select the link for Spoke. Once Spoke comes up on your browser, select Login and get started. Then select Continue on the next 2 pages to sync up your Slack and Spoke accounts. Once everything is synced, you'll see this screen indicating that you're logged in and ready to request your first batch of texts. Generally speaking, we text 7 days a week from 9 a.m. Eastern Time to 9 p.m. Pacific Time, excluding all federal holidays. However, we do occasionally have slower days when texts are not always available. To see if we're texting at any given time of day, and we probably are, just scan the new Texters channel, where our volunteer support will be posting regular updates on the day's texting activities. Once you've requested an assignment, you'll need to wait a few moments for the screen to display your new texts. If you don't see anything after a minute or two, try refreshing your browser. You'll also receive an announcement in Slack when your assignment is ready, so keep an eye out for that. Assignment sizes vary from campaign to campaign, but an average texting assignment is around 500 to 750 texts. A huge assignment that actually is quite comfortable once you get familiar texting is 1,000 texts. It's important to note that the default assignment size you see when you make a request is set by campaign staff and is the maximum assignment for that campaign. Please feel free to take less than the default assignment size, especially as you're just getting started. Now we're going to dig into the mechanics of texting in Spoke, looking at navigating your workflow, sending and replying, managing tags, and the shift flow. This screen shows what we call your workflow. It shows all the texts on current campaigns you have left to send. Once you've started sending texts, your workflow will change to include any outstanding initial messages you have left to send, as well as replies that are waiting for your response. As you can see, initial messages are marked with a green notification, while replies are marked with an orange notification. Down the line, you'll be texting on multiple campaigns at once. When that happens, this page will show you all the messages that require your attention for each different campaign. Now let's talk about sending and replying to text messages. The way to kick off a new assignment is to channel your energy into the green Send button at the bottom of your screen. Go ahead and send all of your initial messages first, then work on the replies as they filter in. One pro tip is that you can scroll over the Send button and then hit the Enter key on your keyboard, which you may prefer to clicking a mouse or trackpad over and over again. Once you've finished sending all your initial messages, you'll then see the replies pop up in your workflow. If you finish sending your initials and don't see any replies, try refreshing your browser. Once you see your replies, click the Send Replies button. Next, you'll see a screen like this. To log data about what the textee has said and to provide an appropriate answer, click the field under Current Question to review the different survey options. In this example, the person has said yes to the event invitation, so we've marked yes on the survey. You can see that selecting yes automatically populates the message field with an appropriate response. This is true for all the survey options in each different campaign. All we have to do is hit send. It's important to note that no matter what the reply, you should always mark the correct survey response in Current Question. This is how our data is logged, so we know how to follow up with the textee, both in the immediate future and over the course of the campaign. Sometimes we'll send a message to the wrong number. Marking your survey response as wrong number will exclude this phone number from future campaigns. There's also a wrong number supports Bernie option that prompts textees to update their information so we can contact them later. If someone says stop, like in this example, or otherwise clearly and explicitly asks to no longer receive texts, we must immediately opt them out. Some examples of common opt-out messages are stop, remove me, don't text me, take me off your list, unsubscribe. You may also opt out anyone who sends overtly abusive or hostile messages, but not if they're just being rude or unpleasant. Once you select opt out, a message will automatically appear at the bottom of your screen. Click send and the textee will immediately be opted out from future texting campaigns. Sometimes the textee answers with a question rather than a direct answer to our initial question. The first thing to do then is to check the canned responses at the bottom of your screen. This will show you any suggested replies we have prepared for common questions relating to that specific texting campaign. Clicking on the appropriate response will automatically populate the message field. While in most cases you'll be able to just select the appropriate survey response and hit send, sometimes you'll want to modify the script that automatically populates. One example here is when someone shares with you a personal hardship, like feeling ill or becoming injured. In those cases, you should modify the default script to empathize with the person you're texting with before relaying any other relevant information that would be appropriate to send. If a voter sends a message that does not require a response, like this one, you can simply select Skip Reply. This essentially marks the message as read and will move it out of your workflow. For messages that you want to come back to, use the little rightward arrow symbol on the bottom right hand of your screen, not the Skip Reply button. Now we're going to talk about managing tags. Tags are how we collect data that we can't capture through the survey responses. The three most important ways we use tags are number 1, logging messages sent in another language, 2, logging a voter's second choice candidate, and 3, escalating a conversation to campaign staff. To tag a textee, click Manage Tags at the bottom of your screen. If a textee responds in a language other than English, we want to tag them as a speaker of that language so that the campaign can follow up with them in their preferred language. If you're able to identify the language, click Manage Tags, then start typing in the name of the language, in this case Spanish. The Spanish tag will automatically appear, and all you need to do is select it, then hit Save. If you're not sure what language it is, post a screenshot of your conversation in the Language Help channel to help you identify it. On certain texting campaigns where we are texting the voter file, and not just Bernie supporters, we'll be collecting information about voter support for other candidates, including their second choice candidates. We capture data about voters' second choice candidates using tags. The process is the same as with the language tags. Click Manage Tags at the bottom of your screen, then begin typing the last name, not the first name, but last name of the candidate they've identified as their second choice. The candidate's name will automatically appear. Select it, then hit Save. The last common way we use tags is when we need to escalate a conversation to a campaign staffer. This option should only be used in very unique circumstances. For example, threats of violence, from overt and specific threats to more indirect and general ones, like someone who says they plan to bring a firearm to an event. If you're not sure whether to escalate, just ask volunteer support. Dead naming is another one. This is when the textee identifies as transgender or non-binary, but our data still contains their old, dead name. These are extremely sensitive conversations that we want our staff to handle. Urgent requests, like someone who is locked out of an event or a volunteer who can't find the meeting place for a rally, should also be escalated. When this happens, make sure to immediately notify volunteer support so that they can bring it to a staffer's attention. Finally, please escalate demands to speak to a staffer or supervisor so we can handle any difficult or challenging dynamics from those conversations. To escalate a conversation, click Manage Tags at the bottom of your screen, then select Escalate Conversation. Then carefully read and click Yes to the prompts that come up, if you're confident it's an appropriate time to escalate. In general, you should only escalate as the final recourse to an extremely sensitive or urgent conversation. You should not escalate just because you don't know how to respond or because the textee is being rude or difficult. When in doubt, first check the texting team FAQ, then if there's not an adequate answer given there, ask for help in Slack in the New Texters channel, where our volunteer support are always ready and waiting to assist you. And those are the basics of how to text using Spoke. Okay, so let's say you complete your first assignment, handle all your replies, and then call it a day. What do you do when you're ready to start texting with us again? First, you'll go to Spoke and check to see if you have any pending replies that have come in while you were gone. Next, go to New Texters in Slack to get information on current campaigns. Then go to Spoke to request more texts, and last, you'll want to refresh Spoke to start texting. Please note that if you need to leave before completing your assignment, it's very important that you let us know by posting a message in the New Texters channel. A quick note on hardware. It is possible to send text through your web browser on any smartphone, tablet, or computer, but the majority of texters report a preference for sending via a desktop or laptop computer due to increased accuracy and efficiency. And here's a pro tip. Whenever you sit down to start texting with us, the first thing you should do is open a few key resources. Spoke, where you'll send your text and manage your workflow. Slack, where you will get assignment details and be able to ask questions. Side note, we really recommend that you download the Slack application rather than use the browser version. And the Texting Team FAQ document, which is located at the top of your New Texters channel for reference. This is the main resource document that is packed with valuable information on policy positions, campaign events, and answers to common questions you'll encounter while texting. In the same vein, we recommend having the issues page of Bernie's website open and available. Alright, now that you know how to operate the technology that powers our texting program, it's time to learn about the norms and best practices that our texting team relies upon to effectively represent Bernie's campaign. Let's review some do's and don'ts. A generally good rule of thumb is to be like Bernie, kind, warm, and respectful, no matter what. And if you don't know something, ask. And again, always let volunteer support know if you need to stop texting so we can reassign your replies. Some things to avoid: never post screenshots of text conversations or Slack exchanges online or in non-texting related Slack channels. Never abandon your text without letting volunteer support know. Never send unapproved links. So approved links must come from the FAQ, Bernie's website, or one of Bernie's social media accounts. Any links that can't be found in one of these three places are not okay to send out via text unless a volunteer support or staff indicates otherwise. And of course, never engage in negative debate. Research shows that most of the time, people leave a debate feeling more entrenched in their original position, not more open or responsive to a different point of view. Plus, debates or arguments can quickly spiral out of our control, undermining our ability to earn the textee's support and placing the campaign in a vulnerable position. We understand that at times, there can be a fine line between combative debate and constructive discussion. If a textee disagrees with Bernie or his platform, we should aim to respectfully share facts without ever getting nasty, negative, or defensive. Remember, as a representative of the campaign, we're counting on you to be like Bernie, kind, warm, and respectful, no matter what. So here are some helpful strategies for walking the line between discussion and debate. Let's look at these a little more closely. A core strategy for keeping a discussion constructive is to empathize with the person you're talking to, relating to them as another real human being. Some examples of that might be saying something like, "I can understand why you'd care so much about blank," or "It totally makes sense that you were concerned about that." Another useful approach is to inquire about their reasoning, especially if it's not clear what they mean. So you might say something like, "I'd love to understand more about why," or "May I ask why you think," etc. Acknowledging or thanking someone for sharing their perspective is an easy way to demonstrate respect in a conversation. You might say something like, "I appreciate you letting me know where you're coming from." If someone is pulling the discussion into a more abstract or personal direction, a helpful strategy can be to pivot to a concrete policy position that Bernie holds that you suspect may resonate with the voter. So for example, you might say something like, "It sounds like the cost of healthcare is a real concern for you. You might be interested in Bernie's platform on Medicare for All, which would guarantee quality healthcare to everyone while eliminating premiums, deductibles, and copays. You can read all about it here, then provide the link to Bernie's issues page on Medicare for All." We want to reiterate here that whenever you're sharing links about policy, you should only share campaign-approved links, meaning, again, links found in the FAQ, links to the issues pages of Bernie's website, or to a post on one of his social media accounts. Do not share news articles, videos, or any other links unless they are clearly and explicitly approved by the campaign. Okay, last two strategies for avoiding negative debate and fostering productive discussion. It's really important not to mirror negativity or allow yourself to react defensively to a textee. You should never attack a textee, no matter how rude or disrespectful their behavior may be. And you should never personally attack another candidate in the race. Keep it about the issues. One way to think about it is ask yourself this question: would Bernie retweet this message? Finally, don't drag out a lost cause or tolerate abuse. There will be tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people we need to text each and every day. Don't waste your time on conversations that are clearly not productive. And please don't feed the trolls. Trolls are textees who will try to engage you in a conversation, but who have no intention of interacting with you in good faith. Just don't take the bait. Okay, so this is very important. We read every new text conversation on the back end of Spoke. Any negative debating, mean-spirited comments, sarcastic remarks, or conversations in bad faith will result in your suspension and removal from the texting program. Please just don't go there. As we touched on earlier, anytime a textee says stop, remove me, opt out, unsubscribe, take me off your list, or anything that clearly indicates they no longer wish to receive text messages, we must immediately opt them out. This is to make sure that we are honoring people's wishes and not wasting our time contacting people who do not want to be contacted. You can also opt out anyone who is overtly abusive or hostile. Conversely, you should never opt out someone just because the conversation has come to an end, or because the textee has said no to our question, or because we have the wrong number or the textee has moved. You should also not opt out because the textee is rude or inappropriate. Lastly, you should never offer to opt people out if they do not explicitly ask for it themselves. Okay, so you know the difference between negative debate and constructive discussion. You know when to opt out and when not to opt out. But what do you do when you hit a question you don't know how to answer? Simply follow these 3 steps. First, check the canned responses in Spoke. Next, if you don't see an answer, check the texting team FAQ. If you're still struggling to find the right reply, ask a volunteer support in the new texters channel on Slack. Please do not make stuff up or guess when you're unsure about something. It's critical that we give voters and supporters accurate, reliable information, which means having our facts straight. Once you've checked out the canned responses and FAQ, don't hesitate to ask for help in the new texters channel. That's what it's there for. If it's a policy question you're having trouble answering, again, there are 3 steps to cover. First, look in the texting team FAQ, which has extensive information on Bernie's policy positions. Second, if your answer isn't in the FAQ, or if you want to augment it, go to the issues page on Bernie's website, where you can read and pull language from in-depth policy proposals. You can also refer the textee directly to a specific issues page. Third, if the issue or question is particularly specific or unique, go ahead and ask them to email info@berniesanders.com, which is designed to receive and respond to more detailed and difficult policy questions. If you get a question about a particularly controversial topic, or get the sense that the textee is trying to bait you into an antagonistic conversation or debate, please, again, don't go there. Instead, offer them this stock response, directing them to info@berniesanders.com, and you can find this exact same language when you're texting in the text team FAQ. Okay, we're getting close. Before we go over your next steps to get texting with us, we want to make sure to cover the norms that define how we interact with one another in Slack. Again, our basic standard for assessing conduct should be, what would Bernie do? As a volunteer with Bernie 2020, you are agreeing to some basic terms. For example, you must agree to use language that reflects the values of Bernie and his campaign, and never use profanity or language that would reflect negatively on our campaign. This is kind of a no-brainer, but really important. Another volunteer term is to never speak negatively about other candidates. We only point out policy differences. Remember, policies, not personalities. We will not let differences of opinion in policy and strategy descend into a personal attack. Another volunteer term is that we do not condone bullying, sexual or unlawful harassment, or abuse, and will actively take steps to mitigate should they occur in our working group. In thinking about the kind of organizing culture we want to create in Slack, it is extremely important that we foster a culture that prioritizes respect, safety, good faith, and thoughtfulness at all times. It's also important to always assume good faith. It takes a lot of work from everyone to ensure a streamlined experience for our team with so many moving parts. People are working extraordinarily hard on this campaign, sometimes putting in very long hours day after day, and that's true of volunteers and staff alike. Remember to be kind and give people the benefit of the doubt. We're all in this together. Finally, the last thing we want is for a disrespectful conversation to show up on the internet and harm the campaign. So whether you're texting in Spoke or posting in Slack, ask yourself, would Bernie benefit if my message went viral on Twitter or Facebook? Would Bernie put this on an online or television ad? Would Bernie be proud to say that the statement came from one of his volunteers? If the answer to any of these questions is no, then you should think very carefully about posting it in the first place. All right, we did it! Thank you so much for watching this video, and we can't wait for you to get texting with us. Please remember that our staff and sweeper volunteers are monitoring all conversations and that our volunteer support are always available to answer any of your questions. To get started texting with us, the last thing you need to do is to complete the quiz that will test your knowledge of the content presented in this video. Simply scroll down this page and click the link to take the Texting Team quiz. You can always review sections of this video again if you need a refresher, and you can take the quiz as many times as you need in order to receive a passing score. Once you pass the quiz, make sure to click the button to join the new Texters Slack channel. This will prompt you to submit your email address into a form, which will automatically add you to the new Texters Slack channel. Once in Slack, scroll up in the new Texters channel until you see an announcement about the current texting assignment. Then, if texting is open, hop on over to Spoke and request your first batch of texts. Thank you so much for joining the texting team. You are helping us build an unprecedented grassroots movement to take on the billionaire class and guarantee a dignified life for all people in this country. This work will play a huge role in getting Bernie elected, and we are so grateful for your commitment to making it happen. Thank you again, and happy texting!